Welcome to Meet the Voter. It is Easter holiday. It's actually Sunday, Easter Day. And it is the 27th of March, 6 p.m. That means it's time for Meet the Voter. And Blab is actually working. Our last one we did on Skype, not on for our last show. We just did, what was that, Saturday morning? That was WP Tonic. Well, today on the show, we got Republican Bob from Modesto, California. He's our, I can't say conservative Republican because that doesn't quite fit, but he's our Republican. He's definitely a Republican. Through and through, blue and through. We got Jonathan Denwood, who's our
socialist Christian Democrat,
our socialist
Christian Democrat,
our socialist Christian.
He just doesn't even the word stick in his gut. Even the word can't pass him. It's like coughing it out, isn't it, Bill?
That's rough. From Carson City, he's also a business owner and developer, and he does a wonderful show called WP Tonic with Me, which is one of the top shows on iTunes. This show may be top someday. It's been pretty high once or twice. And so that's all it is. Christmas is going to be very short. It's Easter. It's going to be very short today. Until I'm going 100 different directions. We're very busy time of the year. And so we're going to talk about this week. Actually, Meet the Press wasn't bad this week. What do you think, Jonathan?
I thought, it was pretty dismal. I think they were forced to talk about Bernie. It was like he slaughtered the competition so dramatic. They were forced to have him on, but it was like you saying Christian Democratic Socialist. They just, even the prospect of actually mentioning him, you can see Todd and those other scum that he gets on, those other scummy reporters. They that are all part of the Washington establishment.
Okay. We know. So driving on, let's see, Bob, what do you think of Meet the Press and some of the stuff, other things that happened? Bernie wiped everybody out.
I was going to puke, but just remember one thing: today's important for he has risen.
That's right.
Christian, I could say that. I didn't watch it. I mean, they're going to talk about Trump going back and forth with Mr. Cruz. I mean, I'm proud of what old Bernie did. Bernie did a heck of a job, 5 out of 6. He cleaned her clock. So I think that changes things. And his approach to going to the super delegates. Listen, I won your state by 40 points. Why should you go to her? And he's got a legitimate cause.
Yeah, especially when he hits like California. What were the numbers in it was like 82% or something in Washington State?
He beat her like he owned her, for God's sake.
He's gonna annihilate her in New York. It's like Rubio in Florida. When he hammers her in New York, that's when the truth will come out about scammy Hillary Clinton.
So why did Hillary do so well down in Florida?
Well, I've got to be truthful. I like Bob's view on this, but it's a bit like what's all coming out about what happened in Phoenix, what happened in Arizona, her and her clique, the corruption that went in Arizona. It's all starting to come out, how from 200 polling stations, they reduced it to 60. They made people wait for over 4 hours plus. Many people gave up. It's just typical Clinton, typical Hillary, just corruption. She's just a scumbag of the highest order, isn't she?
Yeah, and we know what Harry Reid did down in Las Vegas, where they put the polling places for the caucusing inside the casinos where the workers.
Everywhere she wins, if you look at it, it's always corruption. Wherever she is, whenever her supporters, whenever they assemble in a mass, there's always something there's always some corruption or something going on.
I'm just glad to see that this corruption is finally coming out where people could see it, because this is what we've known for a long time about as far as vote counts, because it doesn't matter how many people vote for you. It matters who counts the votes. That's the only important thing. That's the only important thing, is who counts the votes.
That's one thing about caucuses. They're controlled by the party, the vote. There's not an outside source. I mean, we watched Karen signed off on the vote here, and we saw the process here in Nevada, how it was done. I like caucuses a lot, but kind of scary how we count the vote.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I think Hillary, the FBI now said they're going to actually interview her, which, I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything. I mean, they should. What she did was totally corrupt. I'd love to see the argument come out there, whether, between the Democrats who want to be socialist Christian Democrats versus Republicans who want to be capitalist. Let's have the discussion.
I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist.
I know. But the bottom line, you work hard. You should be able to receive the benefits of your work.
Sorry. He's also a capitalist and a Democrat, or Christian Democrat socialist. Gosh darn it, that's hard to say.
Yeah, I know it's difficult for you, Bill. I feel for you.
Yeah,
I feel for you. And there's not much going on this week. What's the next?
Well, I think I think the interesting thing, apart from them talking about lying Ted and what's been said about his wife and about him. The other thing they brought up was this interview with the Washington Times. Was it the Washington New York Times or the Washington with Mr. Trump? And I thought I would never say this, but I've got to come up with the defense of Mr. Trump for a little bit. I don't know, that they had that evil-looking female reporter coming out of her normal crap, and I didn't think he did a bad interview. He was just, he was saying what a lot of Americans, and I don't agree with everything he says, but I think the opinions he was putting forth of the electorate that would be interested in voting for him, I don't think it was that way out. I think a lot of people think that way. And they made out he doesn't know anything about foreign affairs, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, give it a rest, will you? For God's sake.
What happened in Brussels? You had 34 people get killed in there. You've got bombings going on all over. And the first thing they do in this country, as soon as there's an attack overseas, is they say how we're also Islamophobic. Before there's even anything response, CARE's out there saying we're Islamophobic. Okay, the bottom line is these are extremist Muslim terrorists.
Now, on our thing, if you notice on the notes, I said politics this week. A YouTube commercial was taken down after the attack. I actually had this up on the page the day after the attack, and they actually, Belgium took Brussels, it was from the city of Brussels, took it down. It was one of their PR pieces saying how safe and how great it was and how we all get along. And they created it. It was a 2-minute clip, and it was a marketing clip, and they actually took it down. So I want to talk about that a little bit as you transition. It's very dangerous over there right now. Very, very, very dangerous in Europe. Period.
I don't actually agree. I think
it's dangerous. France, friggin' Belgium, these bombs blowing up in different places.
Well, if you let me put it, you let me actually. Pardon. What did you say, Bill?
The tunnel's been targeted between England.
Yeah, but I think
the nuclear power plant.
Can I actually put this in context? See, I really think as Americans, you've got to put things into context. I lived and worked in London for over 15 years, where it was a target for provisional RRA terrorism for 15 years. I actually had friends in Brighton the day that Margaret Thatcher and most of the British cabinet got blown up in a hotel. And they had to dig out Margaret Thatcher out of a semi-demolished room. And they got really close, wiping out the whole British cabinet. I actually, the day before the city of London got bombed, and they blew up a fair bit, or blew all the windows out. So, yeah, that's what terrorism is about killing. They can't, but in no shape or form, apart from barbaric publicity stunts to kill innocent people. ISIS can never be a real threat to America. It can never be a real. It depends on what you call a real threat. I call a real threat external threat that can actually take over your country. Well, they're never going to be capable of that.
Well, that's not the plan. If you understood their war plan, you would see that they do have a plan to take over the West. I studied the dang thing.
Well, we're going to disagree on
You want
this.
to hear how the plan is? I mean, it started with one of the plans is it's 1,000 cuts, is to bleed us financially, is to hit terrorists around the world. I mean, it's constant. Every 2 weeks you have a terrorist attack somewhere in the world.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because like what Mr. Trump points out, we keep meddling in these countries' internal affairs.
If we Jonathan, if we didn't do any of that, we'd still be attacked. You don't understand the psyche behind it.
Well, that's where we fundamentally disagree on.
Islamic extremists have one mission, and that's to create the whole world under Sharia. Period. That is their mission. I worked that, man. I lived that. I lived in Afghanistan for 4 years. I studied in university for a year. I know the doctrine. We've captured enough of their material. We've monitored enough of their people. I've watched enough of their the broadcast.
Well, I know that's
the philosophy is to take over and kill you.
I know that's that is the system's storyline. I know that's their fundament. You know, a organisation that it was American policy that made ISIS, made them as powerful. It was their
Iraq.
It was their support, their financial support, their weaponry.
No, not
ISIS. Their
Taliban, yes. Taliban, yes. No on ISIS. No, not at all. Not on ISIS. Not in all the different areas that they've spread to. In fact, we've been fighting them for 15 years.
America's policy in Syria actually made ISIS what it has become.
How's that? How's that?
Well, because you're given money through the Gulf states and directly through the back door of the CIA, and and the CIA and the Gulf states and with the CIA were well aware
of what. Wait a second. So you blame the radical extremists, that philosophy, on America? You're goofy. You're just goofy. I mean, you are goofy, Jonathan. That's a goofy philosophy. Bob, back me up. I need to.
This is the third caliphate. This is the third time the Muslims have done this. The 1, 2, 3. The United States wasn't around for the first two. Yeah. This is the third caliphate. They just got their people back together and said, "Let's make this happen."
No, I'm just saying that it may not strong. I think we can put, yeah.
They had an attack today, killed 65 women and children, Christians. I think I'm not sure was it Pakistan or whatever?
Yeah, Pakistan, there was another attack.
And then they had another suicide bombing in Iraq.
I guarantee you Pakistan. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last week you've had 3 suicide.
You can't blame the United States on the radical extremist period.
I do.
And what we need to do now is we need to go in and kill as we can. Listen to me. These guys that we released from, I know 2 of them because I know the capture party. 2 of the guys they released, the 5 for Bergdahl, the traitor was there. 2 of those guys had killed thousands of people, had been responsible for killing thousands, but plus a lot of women had executed women. And we let them go. If they wouldn't have been brought back into Guantanamo, they would have been executed in country by Afghanistan.
Well, good.
That's what should have happened. That's the mistake we made. We brought them back to Guantanamo and released them back.
That's great. I've got no problem with that. That's an external country's policy. Great. But, this is the same nonsense that was spoken during the Vietnam War. This domino theory and this ideology that went on for 15 years with the Vietnam War from the establishment that in the end was proved to be absolute garbage.
See, the problem is we're still suffering from Vietnam. So we should just let North Korea just invade the South or have nukes.
Well, the South, like what Mr. Trump actually said, the South Koreans need to take on a much larger part of the bill. And if they want to develop, I would hopefully advise them not to.
When I was in Korea, we had 3 brigades. We're down to 1 brigade now. Now it's a tripwire. Let me pause for a break.
Yeah, but
okay, we're coming back from the break, and this is where we forecast out what's happening. And I think we're all on Easter vacation here, but we have a guest, Dakota Saunders from Scotland. He's in politics over there. I want you to introduce yourself real fast. Tell the folks who you are and what you do.
Well, naturally, I work for Her Majesty's government. I'm a special advisor to the Prime Minister of my country. I brief him for Prime Minister's question time from Downing Street. I also work partly with the Chief Whip of both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And I just found out that I made the parliamentary shortlist for the Bradford West constituency for the Labour Party. So I will be standing, hopefully, for Parliament at the 2020 general election. So,
stay in contact. Come on the show once in a while.
All right. Well, yeah, you get a member of Parliament.
To be a politician, you have to be a liar, and you have to be a liar and a cheat. So, do you fit that?
Robert, if I had to be a liar and a cheat, I'd be a lot more nice to you.
Yeah, a cheeky bastard like me, but it's okay.
Oh, I'd have to not swear at you. Me being honest, I'd have to say some pretty nice things about you.
Oh my God, I'm scared to hear that.
So going around, give us your what's going to happen the next couple of weeks in American politics and in the world, and what's your opinion of this attack in Belgium?
Well, literally, I can't say about the Brussels attack. The Prime Minister had a Cobra committee meeting from Downing Street. I took part in that via a video conference call. I won't go into details because, Jonathan, you know what the Official Secrets Act is, so I can't violate that. But what I can tell you is that the Foreign Secretary and the Home Secretary has got in touch with various world leaders, and they are addressing certain issues on immigration status in the border between us and the rest of mainland Europe. And from what I understand, there will be a certain momentous shift in the get-out vote for leaving the Union. But I can't really give a detailed forecast on that because I haven't really been home enough to see the figures. Now, for American politics, from what I understand, Saunders has won all 3 primaries yesterday. Robert, you're really trying... Oh, he won 5 or 6?
Yeah.
I thought there was 3.
She's on the run. There were 3 yesterday, but he's won 5 of the last 6. She is going downhill faster than an alpine skier.
Oh, right. All right. Now, from what I'm understanding, Bill, from what I heard you say, and from what I've seen in the latest opinion polls, is that it's probably going to be Clinton and Trump going into the general election. But Jonathan, let me finish, mate. I'm going to say, now, it's eventually sooner rather than later, the federal prosecutors will release an indictment. And I think what I think comes from a Telemundo debate in Florida, I believe it was. I saw the clips from it. If she gets indicted and she's still running and not withdrawing because of this indictment, I think she's damaging herself. So what I'm saying is, in the next few weeks, you'll see Saunders getting more momentum, Clinton trying to stay on the ground, and also, I believe on the Republican side, you'll see Trump and Cruz going to neck and neck, fighting into the nomination process. I think the governor of Ohio, Kasich, I believe his name is, I think he's trying to hold on to the desperate ground. So I don't think he's going to get anywhere. I think it's going to stick on the Republican side. It's going to be sticking between Trump and Cruz. So what else I can say is we're going to have to wait and see till the latest return results come in. So
I'll give the same forecast as you just gave. I mean, I that's all I'll say because I think I'm pretty much agree with what you said. Though I don't know what's going to happen with the indictment. That baffles me. What's going on right now? Why it's taking so long?
Well, really, not really trying to interrupt Jonathan and Robert here, but I am aware, going back in time just a little bit, I do know Prime Minister Blair was questioned in Downing Street regarding certain scandals in the past. I believe it was.
That's very diplomatically put.
Well, Jonathan, would you like to tell it, mate? Because I only heard that third hand.
That piece of excrement, that line piece of crap, that was a prime minister that should have been put on trial for war crimes, that any decent country would arrest for the lying piece of shit which he is.
Hey, Jonathan, I got to edit that.
Well, that's lightly putting it. There was talk about, and I can't really say this because I've met Phil Wilson, his successor in Sedgefield. From what I'm understanding, Prime Minister Blair, and we'll just call him Mr. Blair now because he's not really worthy of the title. From what I'm understanding, before he left Downing Street, there was talk that he would keep his parliamentary seat. But from what I'm understanding, there were certain criminal investigations still ongoing with that and the Iraq War inquiry. Look, Jonathan, you and I both know he's dragging that out until after the next general election. It's probably going to indict him horrifically, saying that he was... Oh, Jonathan, come on.
We got to go on. But what's he get indicted on? Exactly what the charges?
Well, he's not getting indicted on anything, but hopefully he'll get indicted for war crimes because he is the only former prime minister. I'm hoping he gets indicted.
What are the war crimes? What specifically?
Going into war in Iraq, trading information for money. I mean, getting blood money from the oil fields in Iraq. I mean, what is there not to indict him on?
Well, you got BP and those companies, right?
Aye, literally. You just spelled it out right there.
Yeah. So. I know a little bit about BP. I work for BAE. Are you familiar with BAE?
Vaguely. Very vaguely.
I had to work for BAE. They made me work for BAE for 4 or 5 months between duties.
All right. I think I interrupted Jonathan. I'm sorry, mate.
No,
Jonathan, what's your forecast? And we'll finish up with Bob, and we'll go to break.
Well, you saw on the Republican side, you saw a little bit on Meet the Press today. This, they bring out this thing now. Never heard of it. Zombie delegates. I don't know where maybe Bob, when he talks, he can, I've never heard this term before. I presume all Republican delegates are pretty zombie-like, but they brought this one out. What more rubbish they can actually talk about and bring out to try and stop Mr. Trump becoming the Republican candidate is, I think their imagination. I'll give them full marks for their imagination. When it comes to the Democratic Party, we're finally seeing, Hillary and her operation, her corrupt operation, could manipulate the South because it was such a low voter turnout. But anywhere where there isn't corruption, the kind of level of corruption you saw in Arizona, wherever her and her activists can't corrupt the process, she is massively defeated. And what's coming up will be the crucifixion of her finally. The day of reckoning for that evil woman and that criminal of a husband of hers is coming. And I look forward to the day, like what Bill has pointed out, that she has to do an interview in a red pajama suit, which she so richly deserves.
Now, let me interrupt you.
I wanted to say, but today, it's the resurrection of Bernie Sanders. So you have to remember that. He has come down. He was dead. He's arisen.
He's never been dead. He's never been dead.
He's Robert.
After Florida,
Robert,
he was
dead.
Mate. Scotland. Go ahead.
Robert.
Robert.
You're a cheeky man.
I know, cheeky bastard.
Jonathan, let me ask you this, because I read somewhere online now, isn't the bulk of Hillary Clinton's supporters super delegates? Ones of magnificent power, much like the Lords.
Yeah, those are the elected officials that owe allegiance to the Democrat Party itself, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Those are the ones that basically will supersede the personal voters.
We're going to go to break.
And Bernie's making a play for them.
Let's talk to this after the show. We're going to come back and we're going to finish it up with a little bit of Obamacare, then go on with the YouTube live.
Obamacare.
All right.
Are we?
Well, this is a unique show. I don't think we really gave Bob a chance. Bob, what's your projection real fast? And we'll go on to the Obamacare. And
my projection is all this crap going on between Cruz and Trump. It's just such a waste. I mean, did the guy have 5 girlfriends or do you have 10 girlfriends? I mean, what's the difference, for God's sake? I really couldn't care less. You look at Bill Clinton, who basically had women going through his life, like going into a deli and pulling next, 95 next, 96 next, 97 next. What the hell's the difference? Who cares? Nobody really gives a crap.
Good. That's good. That's a good projection for you. Hey, going on, we'll talk about Obamacare for a couple minutes. The big thing about there's articles on, if you go to the site today, Meet the Voter, episode 24, you can watch the links. There are two-minute links and there's an hour link. And basically it's the one of the architects of Obamacare, which is Jonathan Gruber, basically explaining how they had to put on a false lie to both the Democrats, Republicans, and the American people to get it through.
Is this Jonathan Gruber? Is he a socialist Christian Democrat too?
The ends justify the means. That's for sure with him. But anyway, they're two good clips to watch. You guys watched them on this before the show. We watched them. Any comments, Jonathan?
About what? Sorry,
about the guy that's the talk.
You don't like a comment?
Well, that's what this election. If it, if the zombie delegates or I can't believe this. If the zombies don't stop Mr. Trump, he's declared that he's going to get rid of Obamacare. If Bernie Sanders wins the election, Obamacare is going to be, he's going to do his attempt to get rid of Obamacare in his own way. So the writing's on the wall for it anyway. So,
well, let me tell you what the Cadillac plans, what the city of Modesto actually buys for the public employees and public safety primarily, because they negotiated it all. I missed one of their negotiating clues. The Cadillac plans are going to be over $10,000 are going to be taxed at 40%, which is huge. And some of those plans used to cost the city up to $20,000 an employee. So that means there'll be an extra $4,000 per each plan in taxes.
That's only answer the door. That's only $330 a month for your insurance, which isn't too bad. But the thing is, nobody cares about that, Bill. These people who think they're going to get free health care, they're going to save $2,500 per year to be able to keep their own physician. All those were lies. You just keep saying the lie, and you say it over and over and over again, like free tuition, free this, free that. You give everything away free. You can't afford to pay for it. So but you say it enough, and people believe it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the bottom line.
I find it funny that the Scotsman really doesn't know what you're talking about.
Scotsman!
Watch the little clip. There's two clips on the page. Let me put this page in here. This is the home page. I'll just stick it in here, and that's where.
Was that what you sent me when I
first came on? Yeah. Can I ask Bob a question? Actually, Bill.
Go ahead, and we'll finish up. That'll be the last.
What do you know about Roger Stone as a political activist? And because I just finished reading the Clintons, The War on Women, which if anybody really wants to understand the Clintons and what they're really about, I would highly recommend it. And the crimes of the Clintons as what they are, it really puts it in. But when it comes to Roger Stone, what do you know about Roger Stone?
Wasn't he one of the Trump's top advisors initially, if I remember right? I apologize. I don't pay a lot of attention to the guys in the background because, like I said, being involved in politics, I know that most of it is really based upon, I hate to say it, lies. And you promise the people everything. You put the carrot in front of them, and they just keep on walking. They just keep on walking, or they're getting a little right to take the lemons right to the cliff. They just go right off the cliff. And what we're talking about, Dakota, is that Bill played a tape from the main architect of Obamacare, who said lack of transparency is a good thing. And he basically talked about it being a lie and everything else. Yeah. And he said that, but nobody cares. And that's the big problem. Nobody cares.
We're going to finish it up, but I'm going to bring you right back on, Jonathan, for the last part. We'll talk about 30 more minutes max. I want to show Dakota this tape. Also, Rob, I assume you've seen this new system that they have on Blab. And I'll drop in the link here. All right, here we go. I'm going to shoot you out. Come on, right back on, Jonathan. Okay, here we go. We're going to drop this new little toy here. It's kind of nice. We got to stop. I've got to pause. Okay, Dakota, we're going to finish up the slow. You watched the American clip of our policy being made on Obamacare and what they did to us. So what do you think? Finish the show.
Really, Bill, listening to that clip, I mean, that man sounds like 3 spin doctors that I have met throughout my career in government, specifically Alistair Campbell. I met him during the 2010 general election. And I just saw him give an election prediction to, I believe it was Andrew Marr or Jeremy Paxman. I don't remember who it was, but the way he spoke made him sound like he was Almighty God, like he knew exactly what he was doing, and he thought he knew what the people wanted. Now, Jonathan, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, you know who. Do you not? Do you agree?
Well, I never had the misfortune of actually meeting him, but the impression I get is you're spot on.
The end justifies the means.
No, it does not.
That's exactly what he said. The end justifies the means.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Personally,
if they said it was a tax, which it is, it wouldn't have passed. If they were honest and open about it, it wouldn't have passed. If they hadn't lied about it, it wouldn't have passed. The end justifies the means to these establishment people. And these are the guys we're fighting on both sides.
Personally, now, this is just my opinion.
No, me personally.
Robert, personally, I think the American Congress would do well to take a page out of our book, of the English book, and have what's called, and have their own version of Prime Minister's questions. You bring the President in front of Congress, you have them answer questions, and you'll be able to tell if he's bloody lying or not. I think your legislature
when
would
the
do
president
very
gives speech, the State of the Union, he goes once in front of the Congress and the.
I know a State of the Union.
And the guy screamed, "You're a liar!"
Actually, I remember that.
Liar. And you can't nail this guy down. He will not answer a question honestly, and he's not worth very much. I mean, Che Obama going over there dancing while these Brussels, the people, the bodies they're not even cold.
And with that, we're going to finish up. So everybody say goodbye. Stay on for YouTube, and we'll stay on 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That's the end of the podcast. I'm going to have to cut it back.
Well,
say goodbye. Wave. Bye. Sing. No one will sing. Okay, bye. Heavy breathing. Maybe go
I know.
Like that. Maybe I can do that instead of the quiet time. So we're recording again. So anyway, we're that's probably I'm actually have a separate RSS feed now. It's at Meet the Voter. You can actually go on to iTunes and type in Meet the Voter, and this will pop up on its own RSS feed.
Oh, really? Have you got that on iTunes?
It's really nice. That's the first parts on iTunes, yeah. Hey,
really?
Dakota, a couple things. Wait a second, we got to record it. I got to record.
Here, I'll hush it up.
Okay, hit it again. We got to get a little recording. Did you hear the last show on the podcast? I put it in the front part. It sounded good.
Sounded great.
Go put it on so I get a little tab so I can put it in the front again.
Oh, here. My little girl here.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean,
white with foam.
God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And just to let you realize something, Bill, there's not a stain on this dress.
Your people's flag is deep as red. Its shroud of martyrs dead.
All right, now that that's over with,
we're just free talk for like 20 minutes.
Now that that's over with, Bill, were you going to ask me something?
Yeah, what's your email? Make sure we have your contact information. What is your best email address? Drop it in there.
All right, give us some more.
We could change the time on this to allow you to get on from England. We could get this English American thing going with some of the European politics. We could start this early in the day.
Is it going to be bilingual?
Not me.
What's it American?
Well, Jonathan, when you're over in England, what's a good time for you to come up on the show, Dakota? We'd love to have somebody from Europe on the show.
I don't know. Maybe
on Sunday. How many hours difference? 8? 5? 8.
It's about 8. So I'd think.
Wait, it's 3 to New York and it's 3 to here, right? 6? Is that it from England?
I'm thinking maybe about 3 o'clock if you're able to.
So 3 is 9, right?
Yeah, 3 is 9.
Does that work,
So if it-
Jonathan? For you, 3 o'clock?
Well, 4 would be better.
How about
All right,
4?
let's do 4.
Let's do 4. That allows me to
Let's
edit.
do 4.
Too late, is it?
4 on Sundays. That's a new time.
All right, all right.
It'd
Now,
be good, it'd be good to have a European viewpoint on too, and plus you're connected. It'd be good. And well, this will be on a podcast.
Not real. No, I have to say, you can't ask me very much questions that would make me violate the Secrets Act.
No, just don't say it. Just tell us no. Just stop and say pause if we do something.
All right.
We don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Oh, sorry. Now
Right,
I've got about 10 minutes. I have a turkey in the oven right now.
They all say that. They all say that.
Jonathan, you're not funny. Jonathan, literally, I've got a turkey in the oven.
That's what I say. They all say that.
How's your family doing? Your dad passed away, right? So
my granddad.
Granddad. So who's in Oregon right now? Your family?
My dad, my mum, my gran, and my 2 sisters are here.
Wow.
So we all travelled from Heathrow over to JFK, and from JFK to PTX, and we all drove down. So
you're all there. Wow, you're there for a long time.
Well, Granddad left after Thatcher left. So,
yeah, but you on this trip though, you've been with your family for a while.
I was supposed to be back to work a few weeks ago, but the Prime Minister allowed me to stay.
That's good. Well, I've got your email address now. I'll stick that in right now in my
okay.
Camp. So we'll put you on the list. And make it when you can make it. We'll do 4 o'clock, which is what, 10 o'clock your time? That'd be good. I'd rather do 4 anyway.
All right.
Bob, can you make it 4?
I don't have a life. I'm a Republican, for God's sake. You know, we're the Walking Dead. We don't do anything anyway. We got the zombie. You got
the zombies now. You got the zombie candidates.
Do you guys do any political work on Sunday afternoon? Politics? Not much. Any campaigns? What are you doing? Any local campaigns this year?
The mayoral election for London.
Yes. Who's going to win? Who's going to win that?
You know who my former member of Parliament is. I think he's going to win. George Galloway.
Oh, you think old George is going to win?
I think Mr. Galloway is going to win because he's honest. He speaks what's on his mind. And I don't think the Tory and Labour candidates, and I God hope Jeremy Corbyn's not watching this, I don't think Sadiq Khan's going to win.
No, you don't think Sadiq's going to win?
I don't think he's going to win. And I can't believe that the leader of the opposition had a bloody list of enemies in the party that would be loyal, disloyal, and really opportunistic. Rosie Winterton, lovely woman. I've met her maybe like 5 times. She was furious. Jonathan, have you ever seen a short lassie really get pissed? Is what your Americans call it. I think she about really took her handbag and literally beat Corbyn over the head for having that bloody list in the first place. Like what was that president that resigned? What was the president that resigned? You had a president that resigned. Which was
Nixon?
Nixon, that's right. Nixon had an enemies
list.
Yeah.
They all have enemies lists. They just don't put it in writing.
Some might, though. Some might.
No, you don't put it in writing, Bill. As I told you before, if I killed all my enemies today, I'd have no friends tomorrow. That's the business we're in. You just don't put it in writing.
Robert, am I on your list?
I should have run for Senate, Bob.
You're on the top.
I should have run for Senate. Kieran Angles is running.
I appreciate you.
I actually crossed swords with her, Bill.
I know. I would have come with
at the governor's mansion. We actually had. I actually got hit. I actually got elbowed in my ribs by my ex-wife because I actually had a bit of a Barney with that witch.
Right, now, lads, you can all fight amongst yourselves right now, but I've got to make my dinner. So
yes, got to have your turkey.
Hey, save me the Pope's
I'm going to send an email. I want you I'm going to actually write up the bio, so I actually do a good introduction.
Save me the Pope's nose.
Sound good, but hey, real fast on the podcast. Give me just 2 seconds. Give me your title again.
My title, my professional title.
Yeah.
It would be Special Advisor to the Prime Minister.
Okay. Wow.
Or you could say unofficial spin doctor, whichever you prefer. So,
does education break the cycle of poverty?
It does every time it's been utilized.
All
You
right.
want about education in our country? We're so stupid it's not even funny.
Bill, why don't you send me an email and I'll
I
write.
just sent you an email. I said bio, and I just put just to remind you.
All right.
So send me back a couple of lines.
And Dakota, I do appreciate you. In fact, so I appreciate you and Jonathan. I like both of you guys. You guys are good. I mean, because you have different opinions than me, you know, and it's okay. You have the right to be wrong. It's not a problem. You know, I agree with you.
You can disagree.
Jonathan, can I ask you, we are a Tory or a Labour man?
I think that's really hard to say because I actually was for a little while. I actually met Margaret Thatcher when she came to Chelmsford in Essex, and I was a member of the Tory local association. I run a business. After the first 4 years of the Tory administration, I became increasingly disillusioned with where conservatism was going, and I've gradually become more socialist in my parts of my outlook. There seems to be something very destructive about conservatism. Fundamentally, if you don't get a society where everybody can make progress or have the opportunities to make progress, you always end up in a kind of quasi-fascist situation. And I believe in opportunities for everybody. Not
You're a conservative then.
I no longer believe. I no longer believe that intellectually that conservatism in Britain and America really is about that. I think it's about.
You sound like a Liberal Democrat.
Oh, for God's sake!
He's a socialist
Do you
because-
have to insult me like that? You know,
sorry.
I've been nice to you. I really have been nice to you, and you.
I'm sorry.
That's a worse
I'm sorry.
insult than
He's
what
a
Bob.
socialist because of his white guilt. That's what it is. His white guilt is what he's. That's why he's a
Doing
socialist.
anything.
Yeah, you got your white
Jonathan,
guilt
I
all
really,
built on you, man.
Jonathan, I wanted to
You
see
feel
that look
guilty.
on your, I wanted to see that look on your face.
You had
So
to
that-
insult me like that, like a Liberal Democrat. Oh my God, fathers! Oh, what a dirty fiend!
Said Dakota.
Oh, God, you're making me go all sweaty and horrible just on the phone.
all right. Now I've got to go have dinner tonight.
It's because of his white guilt. That's all it is.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoy the
Dakota.
turkey.
Have a good Turkey Day.
Thank you.
Happy and good Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thank you.
I should have made him a host and then shut him off because he would have got the. It'll be good. That'll be a good combination. I think between WP Tonic and we can drag over there, we can actually build a pretty good following in England if we do this right with a combination on the show, Jonathan.
Rightio.
We got to. I've got some. We got to get anyway.
No, but I've got to be honest, Bill. I don't, Bob. I don't agree with a lot of things, but I do get the feeling that you know your good points is you want opportunities for everybody. But I've got to tell you that I get no sense of that in the establishment of the Republican Party at all.
Or either party.
Oh, yeah, that's true. In the establishment of the Democratic Party, I sense that either. But I sense one of the things that led to Margaret Thatcher's victory in 1979 is that she seemed to be giving the possibility of opportunity to a wider spectrum of the population. And unfortunately, she was going to lose the 87 election, and then the Falkland War happened about a year before the election, and really that saved that war, and that victory saved her backside, and that led to her victory in that election. But before that, a lot of people got disillusioned by her policies because they seem to be fragmenting British society fundamentally.
You know what you're going to see in this country if there is a terrorist attack, if there is a bombing in this country, it'll be a Republican. I don't care who the hell's running. I guarantee you, it'll be a Republican who will win if there's a bombing in this country before the election.
Well, what do you actually? Because I actually think Hillary Clinton. I think she was
Hillary Clinton has shown what she did with Syria, with Libya. No, and if you look at, they talked. Read an article today by some general. He said that when Bush was in power, no matter how much you hate him, he said ISIS was down to basically 700 members. He said now it's gone up 4,400%. There's over 30,000 members in ISIS. And this is a creation of people like Obama who don't get it. And I mean, Obama, like I said.
Well, I have to disagree with you because I think this whole situation always a bit like a murder plot. Always go and find who benefits from a situation, and then who benefits from a situation are those that push the situation.
The only thing I can say, Jonathan, is how could you ever create something like ISIS? They're so nasty, so terrible.
Well, no,
I
actually,
in Kuwait the day that the last troops pulled out.
Yeah, but Bill, if you let me say something, let's get to facts here, Bill. The Saudi Arabian government, the blessed ally,
I agree that
of America, executes, beheads every year more people that ISIS has executed.
So what do you do with Saudi Arabia? And what do you
do?
know?
And let's be frank about it, Bill. It's their bloody ideology and their money which they exported and have pushed down. Yeah. It's their bloody ideology that's caused most of this.
I don't know what you do about Saudi Arabia. The Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia, the government was trying to get rid of bin Laden and things like that.
And you would agree it's pretty evident now that the Turkish government, when the son of the Prime Minister of Turkey is really connected to the illegal export of oil through Turkey, which finances majority of this.
That didn't used to be like that, though. That's new. That did not 10, 15 years ago. That was not an issue.
Yeah,
Turkey
but this
was our ally. We had a base up in Turkey.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to point out, Bill, is that there's a number of people that got really dirty hands. And I think the other factor is a lot of the ex-Iraqi army who lost their jobs, who were sacked by that idiot that Bush put in. I forgot the gentleman's name. And he sacked the whole of the Iraqi army, the Ba'athist party. A lot of that crowd, and they're a pretty nasty crowd.
I know his name.
They've become, they're
talk about Milikai?
No, what was he? He was the big. He was the head of Iraq. Bush flew him in, and he was the big white chief of Iraq, wasn't he? I forgot what the guy's name was, and he came up with this brilliant idea of dismantling the Iraqi army and sacking the whole officer corps.
No, that was a huge mistake.
That was a really brilliant idea, wasn't it? That was a real smart move.
I was in some of the after action reports on some of that too.
Can you not see the linkage between Afghanistan and Iraq and the disastrous attitudes that were prevalent in the inability of the armed forces and the political establishment to see the reality in Vietnam are the same crowd that cannot seem to get their head around the realities of Afghanistan and Iraq.
Here's the difference. What we should do, and let me just put this out. I should put this on the radio show. What we should do is the Army, and I'm a civil military operations officer, was 31 years. You need to go in there very brutally, take care of the just destroy as much as you can. Honestly, you come back, you help establish their basis of their government and their army, and you get out of there as fast as you can. But then you have to come back again, or you have to keep your advisors there. But you've got to really do a lot of damage when you come in. Can you honestly? You've got to destroy the enemy.
I want to ask you an honest question, Bill.
We don't do.
The 15 years that America has been in Afghanistan and the $600 to $1 trillion that's been spent in Afghanistan, do you really honestly can say to me that you feel the situation of the Afghan people has been improved one bit by that?
Well, their life expectancy is extended only 1 or 2 years since we've been there. But it's a hard question. The biggest thing is I don't think we killed enough Taliban and destroyed the Taliban. We had to more aggressively go and destroy the entire Taliban, and we had to go into Pakistan to destroy them.
Yeah, well,
And right
that
now,
would have meant that great areas of Pakistan, America would have had to try and also control those areas, which are some of the most difficult terrain.
I've been there.
And pardon?
I've been all the northern provinces of Afghanistan and right on the border many a time. We fought across the border. We had a big attack that they all came across the border and killed 16 members in a platoon of 41.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, I actually agree with Mr. Trump's position on this, is that fundamentally, it's really easy to get, and look, all you have to do is look at who benefits from these wars. It's the arm manufacturers, it's the Lockheed Martin, it's Grumman, it's the arm manufacturers, it's the establishment in Washington. They are all suckling at the pig of war. They all got their snouts in it because they have made gobs of money from all this.
Jonathan,
well, Bill could tell you about the gobs of money over there, what's going on, and which.
Yeah.
But to me, the rules of engagement is the biggest problem right now. If you're going to fight, fight. If you're not going to fight, don't put them over there. And Trump's 100% right on that. And I think that's what it's going to boil down to. Again, this election will be about national security and borders. And maybe those guys over in England, we could teach them how to build call it another Trump wall over there in Europe somewhere. Pick a country.
You don't think Europe is going to have some problems, though? I think Europe is going to get into tons of. I said this when we got. I mean, a long time ago, I was talking. People give me a hard time. I was talking about the problems they're going to have in Europe. What they're going to have.
It's just no longer illegal immigration. It's the invasion.
Yeah.
It's just it is what it is. I mean, you see what's going on over there. I mean, even in that little Brussels where they had the makeshift memorial set up, the hatred is so much between the Palestinians and Israel. So the Palestinian woman walks into the middle where all the flowers are and the flags are, and she picks up an Israeli flag, puts it underneath the other flag, rips it up. And you have people standing, that one guy standing there screaming, Palestine, Palestine. That there's no end to that war. You're never going to have peace in the Middle East. The only way you have peace
actually,
is to destroy your enemy.
Because I've got to put this, it's based on my experience, actually, Bob. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've seen people in Northern Ireland that would literally, if they had the opportunity, they would go into the opposite area of town and they would slit the throat of any Catholic that they came across. They would literally, men, women, children, they would literally kill them on the spot if they could get away with it. And on the other side, it wasn't much better. But some of the worst lunatics that I ever met were on the Protestant side. I mean, they would literally butcher if they could get away with it. But in the end...
So can you ever rationalize and reason with them?
Yeah, but in the end, people like Paisley, who's their mouthpiece, one of the most extreme political Protestants in Northern Ireland, in the end, after they exhausted themselves through almost 30 years of violence, they came to a political settlement, Bob. The two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is nonsense. What fundamentally the Arabs, the native Arabs, the Palestinians and the native Arabs that live in Israel, and also the extremists, Israeli extremists, in the end, they're going to have to bury the hatchet, live with their hatred, and live in one state that's not based on race and creed, but based on democracy.
Well, again, I don't think with Sharia law that you could get democracy to mesh with it. I just don't think that they work with each other. Hey, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Hey, Bob, I want to look at this race for a second as I finish up today. I didn't file, I didn't run, but if I had the money, which I used to have, and I even could fund 70,000, 50,000 of my own and raise like 80,000. You've got Republican hope moderate Joe Heck, who is definitely the establishment Republican, 100% establishment, and that's what he is, moderate. And he's been elected down out of Las Vegas. And you got Sharon Angle from the Tea Party, running against him. But this is an anti-incumbent year, and people, who knows what will happen. This is Republicans. Joe Heck, supposedly, what they're going to, here's what I think she's going to use against him: that you were part of the problem, didn't do anything as a Republican to stand up against Obamacare. You just went along with the party. Now you're running for the Senate. No. Let me tell you. I'm just telling you what. And then somebody who's somebody could have come in real strong with mail with good credentials. No. After these guys beat on each other and pulled some of the vote.
I can see where I actually see where you're coming from, but I actually agree. She might
win the primary.
Well, you're just not understanding Nevada politics, Bill.
Well, tell me about it. What do you think is going to happen? You'd think ideally, Heck, with all the money and all the establishment, would win, but this is a strange year.
What you don't understand about Nevada politics is it's not actually about the parties in a perverse way. It's about who owes you favors. It's about relationship. It's a bit like Harry Reid. Do you think Harry Reid gets more support from the Nevada Republican establishment than sometimes he gets from his own party?
Yeah, familiar, Bob. I remember that. Yeah,
because they owe him loads of favors. It's all about favors
between your house
in
and
Nevada. It's all about relationship and backhanders and the favors you owe other people in Nevada.
The Trump voters are not going to vote for I doubt that many Trump voters vote for Joe Heck.
Do you think I'm right about that, Bob?
There's going to be first of all, the next primary. Yeah. Here's the negative, though. We had a caucus, and then we have a primary. The primary doesn't have the president's name on it, so those voters, they're supporting the president.
So there'll be less enthusiasm.
Yeah, so it'll be more of a get out the vote. Be interesting, but I think it's going to be interesting dynamics watching this race. I'd like to watch this race. It's one I was contemplating running, to tell the truth.
See, if Joe Heck was running as an incumbent,
no, he's not. Well, he's a congressman,
right? So if he was running as an incumbent, then they could say, "Well, gee, you haven't done this." But he's running to go to do to basically the opposite of Harry Reid. It doesn't matter.
What gets me about her, Bill, is that she comes out with all this free, and you do realise that she's never run anything in the.
I don't know much about
her. She worked for the state.
She's elected. I know that.
She worked for the state all her freaking life. She's never run a free enterprise company or done anything, risked anything, done anything, employed nobody, helped Nevada's economy, and she sprouts this right-wing ideology, and she played safe. She worked for the system that she sprouts to attack, Bill.
I'm pulling up her bio right now. I mean, I watched them from a distance.
She's an idiot of the highest level.
The other thing, I watched her campaign from a distance, and she made a lot of mistakes. And I've made a lot of mistakes too. Bob can tell you that.
She cannot put two phrases coherent. The only time that she shined was when she got in a televised debate with Harry Reid, and at the time, Harry Reid couldn't get even one sentence coherent.
He was not a good speaker.
No.
Yeah, we'll let you go. But anyway, I want to follow this race. I think it's going to be an interesting race. There's a lot more people running than just. It only takes $500 to get in the Senate race here, so it's definitely different. I think there is an opening for the right campaign that could have won.
It's Hex. Hex got the million. He's got a couple $1 million. It's going to happen on that. There's no other thing that's going to happen. Like I said,
people do get beat with more money, though.
Say what?
People do lose. Money doesn't. There's a limit to how much exposure you can get if you do it right.
Yeah, Sharon Ingle will get zero. No one's going to pay any attention to her. He's not going to debate her or anything else. He won't waste his time.
He's not going to get one Tea Party vote.
Okay.
So if Sharon Ingle's going to get the entire Tea Party,
but
he's not get the Tea Party.
I'd just like to ask Bob about the Tea Party because, when it first formulated, I actually understood some of their anger. And I actually thought in some ways it was a positive thing. As the Koch brothers financed it and totally dominated it, and now fundamentally, I understand that most of their money come from the Koch brothers. They got so-called a large group of new assemblymen and women into the assembly. And it actually hasn't panned out. It's actually the situation has got more bitter nothing's been done. Nothing's really been done for 6 years, basically. And the situation, what do you see the future of this organisation? Can it?
The Tea Party. The Tea Party is a part. I mean, the Tea Party stands for taxed enough already. That's what their base is. They're basically lower taxes, smaller government. That's what they want, and I understand and I agree with that. But the bottom line is the way they were portrayed is, and it has a lot to do with reality. Is perception is reality, and the perception is they're a bunch of white guys that are just for going against Obama because he was black, not because he's a socialist Christian Democrat.
Do you honestly think that Obama, there's any kind of socialist?
Oh God!
Do you really think? Do you honestly think
Obamacare?
Obamacare was written by the drug companies, Bill. It was there. Why do you think it's 1,000 pages long?
No, it was written by the drug companies in Chicago. It was written of his friends in Chicago. Is who wrote them.
But honestly, Bob? Do you really think that what I see in Obama is a corporate suit.
Community organizer. He's a race baiter. He's a race hater. He hates the white half of him. He just absolutely hates. If he could rip it out and throw it on the ground and spit on it and burn it, he'd do it. He hates that part of himself.
I get the exactly opposite opinion. I think he wants this. He hates the black part of him, and he really wants to become a white suit.
It's like the Democrat Party. We talked about earlier. The Democrat Party. The only thing they have going for them is they're able to purchase the votes of African Americans. And I tell anybody, you tell me what this black president has done for the black community in the last 7 years. List them. Any results, positive, jobs, anything. What has he done? Nothing.
I totally agree with you, but I don't think.
Then why is the black community going to vote for Democrats 90%? For they're doing nothing. They're still the slave masters. They keep them down on the plantation, and they get their votes. It's outrageous, and that's the difference between, to me, capitalism. If you get out there and you work hard, you can succeed. You work hard. The money you earn is the money you should be able to keep. For those who just sit there and wait for somebody to give them something, those are the people you could always count on their votes, and those are Democrat voters. They're Democrat voters, and that's the problem between the Republican Party and the Democrats. The Republican Party demands that you work for.
Well, that's where I fundamentally your synopsis of anybody that isn't, basically looking for a handout. I'm not looking for a handout, but I'm looking for a society that offers real opportunities for the majority of people that are prepared to take those opportunities.
That's capitalism.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. You start any job you want to.
It's not capitalism in the USA in 2016.
The hell it isn't. You could open a sandwich shop, a restaurant, and be successful. You get out there and work, you could earn it. To me, there's just too many people that are there waiting for somebody to give them something. It's the nirvana. It's everything's beautiful. It's rainbows and unicorns. We're going to give you this, your Obama phone, and you sit there, and it does nothing for the spirit of the human being. They don't get a chance to really shine, to show the qualities they have. Socialism keeps people down. Look at the shelves over there in the Soviet Union when they really had it going. You couldn't find a damn piece of bread over there. You bring a Russian over here, you put him inside of a store, he's lost. There's so many choices. You have choices. And that's what life's all about. Freedom's about choices. Not the choices you want to make for me, but what I want to make for myself. So yeah, I believe in capitalism. I work hard. Leave me alone. Tea Party, taxed enough already. Call it a day.
No. Well, fundamentally, what I would say about that is that obviously that is a legitimate argument of in any society. When you're a democratic socialist, it's essential that you have a vigorous, well-operating opposition. Power corrupts, and total power totally corrupts. Mm-hmm. And for any democratic system, you need a coherent, logical opposition that can put coherent arguments. And when it comes to the level of taxation and how you're going to regulate and modulate the market system, it's a legitimate discussion. Mm-hmm. But to kind of, I'm looking for the right word here, to make out that there's any that it exists, the free market. There's no such thing as a free market, and there never has been, and there never will be.
It's called selling drugs.
No,
selling guns.
You haven't read enough about Fremont and
There never has been a free market, and there never will be. There never will be a free market. The actual
then what is communism? What was communism?
Well, communism and fascism are the same thing fundamentally.
Well, fascism is different. Fascism is crony capitalism, I believe, more crony capitalism. Communism.
I think when you're talking about its most severe. I think when you talk about communism, it's a difficult discussion because I don't know enough about it.
Well, it's
fundamentally, are you talking about when we talk about communism, we tend to talk about Bolshevism, and we talk about the version that happened in Russia under Lenin, and then you had Uncle Stalin. Now, when you're talking about communism under Uncle Stalin, we're talking about a person that murdered more people than bloody Hitler, that butchered more of his own people through starvation, political torture, and assassination than the one that's seen as the worst murderer, Hitler. So you are choosing two of the most extreme figures the world has ever seen, Bill.
But it's we've had this discussion before. Socialism, the simple definition, is right here. A way of organizing a society in which major industries are owned and controlled by the government rather than by individual people and companies. That's socialism.
I thought socialism was also where the government controlled the corporation, whereas
communism, a way of organizing society in which the government owns the things that are used to make and transport products, such as land, oil, factory, ships, and there was no privately owned property.
Well, that's why I say I'm a Christian socialist, because fundamentally I disagree with the notion of the state controlling all forms of production. I think that's ridiculous. I think there's a total place for free. I don't like using the word free enterprise, of private enterprise in a structured system where the state does what it can do best.
You understand the concept of free enterprise. Free enterprise means I trade my time, my efforts for something of equal value, or I only give when I perceive I have more value coming back.
Yeah, but you know, and I know, Bill, that every company is always looking for edge, and it's always looking for some way to dominate a market, to get rid of its competition, and then increase its prices to as much as it can. That is the fund, when you invest in a company, you're not interested in the bigger picture of society. You're only interested in the biggest return you can get for your investment.
What happens, though, as long as the government doesn't make rules that protect that company, someone else will compete against them.
Yeah, but companies...
For example, there should be more car companies than we have.
Well,
because the government's got so many regulations, I can't start a car company. They regulate in Reno, in Nevada, they make the brokerage license for real estate harder than in California. So they monopolize this brokerage business over here. They limit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, Bill, if you look in American history and you look at the Gilded Age, you look at when Teddy Roosevelt had, with the Supreme Court and the will of the American people, decided that they had to break up the corporations, the Rockefellers. What was the old fan?
If you read that.
These corporations were destroying America. They were anti, normal practice. They utilized basically the techniques of the mob.
Let me tell you what happened I read a book called The Titans, which is about Rockefeller, and it starts before the Civil War. Before the Civil War, there weren't corporations like we have them today. Like they evolved. They could only work within the states. Every state had to have a separate company. The federal corporation evolved after Civil War and up into the turn of the century. So they changed the laws. If they would have left the laws where each state, you could only be a corporation within that state and then separate corporations. So some really interesting things happened.
Yeah, well, you're totally right, Bill. That's a legitimate argument. That's when, but if you just leave it to this, what is this? Like I say, I don't even believe in the term. I don't believe in the term free enterprise, because if you leave it to normal, just the so-called market to sort it out, it always becomes corrupt and cronyfied.
But only the government allows you to do that.
Tendency is to become cronyized and corrupt.
I saw it firsthand, even at City Council Modesto, Bob. I saw it firsthand. Most of the people there wanted a handout or wanted some special advantage.
Sure.
Yeah, well, that's business. That's how it always is. That's why
the elected official make sure you do what's best for the people.
I see democracy. I see social democracy as the cleansing bleach of the system. I see it as the cleaning agent that cleans out the system without violent revolution being necessary. That's what I see it as the cleaning bleach of the system to cleansify what always happens, which is cronyism, corruption, misuse of state money, and just total crap, basically.
And that's why we need government to be smaller and not bigger. And if you go more to a socialist state, you're looking at making everything bigger. Because unfortunately, life is just not fair. Some people are better at some things than others, and people should receive the benefit of the work that they do. If you're 7 foot tall, I
totally agree with you.
Okay, but then the bottom line is socialism. Not everybody should go to college.
Totally.
Everybody have free college education. The cost of factor that. I mean,
I totally agree with you. Again, there are so many, but it's when you stick to specifics. I agree with you. It's when you classify this kind of attitude that free enterprise can fix everything, can do everything, and everything around government is rotten. Government is the people. It's not the people. It should act for the people. But it is the people.
But the founding fathers realized the mob was bad.
Right.
And
pure democracy.
We're a representative republic. We're not a true democracy.
Well, that's where we fundamentally. I've heard this argument. I heard this argument has been sprouted for over 5,000 years. It was the same argument used against Athenia, against where democracy was born, that you can't give average people a vote and a voice, and I totally
you can have a balance.
I totally disagree with it. It's always the argument of the establishment.
No, you elect your representatives, and the representatives do the work. It's elected representatives. It's representative democracy.
Well, you mean that this crowd are going to be like zombie delegates? That crowd. Yeah, thanks, Bill. I want them to represent me like a kick in the head.
Or the pure mob, but the pure mob violence at the Bernie. What?
Maybe you can explain this for me. This always baffled me. I had appointments when I got the nomination for Congress. I had appointments to the Republican Party, both state and local, and we had a local central committee. But the free people who, back in the day, who were appointed to go to the convention, I'd never seen them at one Republican central committee or anything. So how did they get the governor? I think appointed them, so they really weren't in the party. They just don't. I don't know how that happened.
No, most were appointed by the party or by congressmen or whatever.
You never see them local yokels.
No, it's a money guy, sure.
Yeah, it's local. It's not the people in the central committees.
Yeah, I just want to ask Bob a question. When it comes to this Congress, when it comes to the Republican, and let's say Trump has the majority, but it hasn't reached the threshold. Let's say he's 100, 200 short, but he is the majority. It's really clear that they are going to attempt to steal this away from him. What's going to happen?
It'd be crazy.
Well, let's put it this way. I've got a great article that about it's personal for the establishment. How the establishment. This is all about their jobs. That's what it's all about.
That's all that matters.
Jonah Goldberg.
That's all that bloody matters. We all know that's all that matters to these people.
Jonah Goldberg said, and this in quotes, "Nominating Donald Trump will wreck the Republican Party as we know it. Not nominating Donald Trump will wreck the Republican Party as we know it." Nominating Trump is going to blow up the party because it's all about insights. It also goes down and says those people's positions exist because of a Republican Party that is controlled and run by people like them and for them. And that's what it is. It's going to blow it up inside there. When you hear Republicans saying that, you realize it's not about the country. It's not about what's best for the country. It's about what's best for them. And that's what it is. It's about holding on to whether or not they think they've got the power. It's all about power.
We know it has that power, but not all people are like that in office. They don't.
No. We're talking the establishment.
Yeah.
And the establishment's all about the establishment. They don't give a damn about the country. I'm sorry, they don't. I think they put country at the bottom. I think it's really about personal, party, country.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They're not putting country first. And that's why someone like Donald Trump, with all his blemishes and everything else,
I think
because he talks about the border and he talks about public safety, he's going to get a lot of support.
He's definitely a unique study. He definitely is not bending. You know what? He's like he won't bend over to the establishment. I don't think.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong.
I don't think Trump will bend over to the establishment.
But don't get me wrong, folks. You know, there's many things about Bernie Sanders that I disagree with. I don't agree with his immigration policy. It's the extreme to Mr. Trump's policy, which I don't really agree with. I don't agree with the language.
What do you disagree with?
Well, I disagree with Bernie Sanders on immigration because he won't deal with the obvious that you can't have millions of people living in this country illegally. Mm-hmm. And you got to have some system where you just can't give them a general amnesty and just say it's okay. They've really got to leave the country voluntarily and then have a really quick system where they can re-enter, but legally.
How about the people who are in line before them?
Well, you got to totally reform the immigration system from top to bottom. Yeah. But you also got to have secure borders. A country has to control its borders. Yeah. You know, that's just bloody common sense. You can't have every Dick and Harry trying to get into the country and have no control over your own borders. That's just a bloody ridiculous situation.
Where do you disagree with Trump? You sound like a trumpet to me. So where do you disagree with Trump?
I disagree with his language. I disagree with him hinting that all Hispanics are rapists and murderers. That all hardworking people that are for their religion or Muslim are somehow terrorists. That the majority are just hardworking Americans that want to make a decent life for themselves. I resent the language that he chooses to utilize.
I think a lot of it has to do with the interpretation of the language that he uses. Because I did not catch it. I know, yes, I'm a white guy, so
he's not politically correct. He doesn't know how to talk in the proper political points to say something, say nothing.
Right.
In fact, one of the ways I believe that you win elections, that I know I can win elections, is I'm pretty conservative and have some very strong points against the establishment. But the way in the old days to win was to be quiet, come out 45 days hard, hit them with mail, and then do a comparison piece at the end. And that's your best chances. That way they don't think you're a viable candidate to beat them, and then you show up with strong credentials and you win. I think that is the way to win.
Yeah,
to go up against the establishment, it's tough. Go fire with fire against the establishment's tough.
Yeah, the other major area which I totally disagree with Mr. Saunders is his position on education. I do feel that I do feel that the education system in America from top to bottom needs total reform.
Yep, I think we do.
I think it needs total, utter reform, and I think from the university management, most of them are ripping off students.
Jonathan, 100% correct.
I also feel that I will not defend. I'm pro-union, but I will not defend unions that are against the common good, and I feel we're in a very difficult situation. I think teachers need their place in society needs to be risen much higher, but they also got to act more professionally, be better paid, but also the actual teacher unions, some of their attitudes are anti-society. They are anti the common good. Whenever you come across an organisation that's acting against the common good, something's got to be done.
Hey, guys, there's only 3 of us left. So, wait a second. I do want to bring one thing as episode 224, Bob, was I'm probably cut out the daily scam and turned to something else about Nevada, a story about Nevada on Fridays. But I talked about John Kasich's and some other things. We looked at John Kasich's some of his funding in his campaign.
Oh,
This is
well,
Breitbart.
what did you find out, Bill?
Soros, baby,
Soros,
Soros.
$700,000.
Sorry?
Soros, $700,000 to Kasich.
You're
John-
kidding.
No, it's on Breitbart, but you can connect it and follow it and track it.
Yeah.
So Kasich is a big.
Kasich is the turd in the Republicans.
Kasich is really he could be a Democrat or Republican. He's one of the blue dog type.
That his first 100 days he'd take care of this immigration issue.
How?
And so you'd always make it easy. But I got to say one thing, Jonathan. What I disagree with socialism, like I said, is not everybody's equal. You're smarter than someone else, but unfortunately, as the old saying goes, automatically, 50% of the people out there are below average.
Yeah, so what point are you trying to make?
The point I'm making is the people that are below average should not earn the same thing as those who are above average and work harder and able to produce more.
I've got no problem with that at all. But fundamentally, they shouldn't be asked to work their bloody lives in absolute poverty either.
Well, what should everybody be guaranteed? $15 an hour for walking down the street and being able to take a crap? Should you have
fundamentally, that is the fundamental.
This is all this white guilt crap. I swear to God,
I've got no guilt.
White guilt written all across your chest.
You're the one that says, I feel no guilt about anything.
You feel so guilty. You want to give somebody other things because of the fact, you're good at what you do. They're not, but you feel guilty about it.
Actually, it's called. I'll tell you what it's called.
I hope you have a good policy. You can just go to talk to the street.
Do you want to know what it's called?
Get rid of it.
You know what it's called, Bob?
Get over it.
Do you know what it's called, Bob? It's called being a Christian.
Well, I'm a Christian too. So what's that going to do with
I suggest you go and read your New Testament.
Like the Pope and say,
I suggest you go and read your New Testament again, because I don't think you've read it quite recently.
It doesn't matter how I read it. It matters how I live. So if somebody reads it, they're a goddamn hypocrite if they do one thing. And to me, if you believe that in a fair society, then you also should realize that what I earn is what I get to keep. I don't
actually think the New Testament really says that.
I don't give a damn about the New Testament. Listen, I don't know. This is what I know. I'm not a guy that's going to say read. I'm not saying like Beck said that Cruz is the anointed one, that Jesus has called him to come and serve. Come on, man. Don't go there.
What was that?
Well, Glenn Beck said that Ted Cruz is the anointed one. Yeah, he is the one we have been waiting for.
Never do that, Bob. Even when I did the prayers, I trade neutral.
It's asinine when you start talking like that.
Religion for politics. You can believe in religion and you can believe in good morality, but you shouldn't for elections.
But I know the life
we shouldn't be saying, but they do that in Modesto all the time with the big churches.
Yeah,
you know that.
I know the life I lead,
and it's good to be introduced at the big churches, right?
It's not going to be by what I read. It's going to be how I act and how I interact with them.
Hey, Bob, it's good to be. You want your candidates introduced at the big churches, right?
Oh God, I'm here. Yes,
especially in Modesto.
Oh yeah,
like the big church. We have some mega churches out there. Just stand up and say hi.
Hello.
People remember too. That's a lot of votes.
I'm a socialist.
It is. Well, I care. You just say I care more. Everybody wants to have people look at them as I care more. But then fine, then donate more of your own money. Give it away. Yeah. That's your right. Do what you want to do with your money.
Well, I do, but I found that most people, they will donate nothing because they're just self-centered shitheads.
You want the government to take my money from me to give to somebody else. You feel guilty? Give your money away.
Bob, what would be your ideal tax? How would you design a tax code? Honestly, if you could do it.
Yeah, but I get back to you. I've visited Scandinavia. I've lived in Holland. I've been to France quite a bit. I've been to Germany. I've not lived there, but I've been to Germany quite a few. Now, Germany, and funny enough, even Holland, I know if you go to Amsterdam, it seems a quite liberal country, but most of Holland's very, very conservative. And I've been to most of Germany, and I can tell you that most of Germany's a pretty conservative country. And they have much,
kind of conservatives, though.
Is that after the invasion that's going on?
A different kind of conservatives.
Is that after the invasion that's going on now with the Muslims over there? It's no longer going to be a conservative country. It is. The invasion is there.
Well, if you want to use those terms,
it's a great term. It's one that's specific. It identifies.
It's a great term for your ideology. I totally disagree with the term, but if you want to sprout that, good luck to you.
Invasion.
Yeah, sure.
That's what's going on. They're invading them.
Yeah, sure, right, fine.
Well, you see a lot of the countries over there start saying we need to some of these illegals or people or refugees back to where they came from. And you're going to see that a lot of these right-wing countries, they're going to become right-wing countries. They're going to say enough of this bullshit. Brussels got a rude awakening the other day, a real rude awakening. That's reality.
But you know what? The government's not very strong. They've had,
and it's going to happen in this country here too. The same damn thing. We had a little stabbing in Merced. We had a little stabbing in Merced. It took him 5 months to come out and say this guy was ISIS inspired. Hell, I knew first goddamn minute when the guy's going around with a knife from Allah Akbar trying to kill people. It's not because he's got a heart on he can't get rid of. You know, it's the guy's a Muslim terrorist for Christ's sake.
No one's watching. It's just blabbing.
Oh, God, that's good.
Hey, 4:00 next week.
Nobody's watching this. Oh, Jesus.
If you look at Blab, I just pulled up Blab. There's the most anybody's watching is like 12, but the podcast is still powerful. Hey, Jonathan, I was going to talk to you about this week. I'll let you two go. I'm going to go sit here with my my fascist chair and just raise hell. Tell me what you thought the best tax situation would be. I'm going to turn it off for a second. I got to tell you something.